This is where I get frustrated.
Don't even open that can of worms.
Like horrifying.
Horrifying. Not allowed to cry or have emotions in your house?
Like, do you really need to know what Zemoglothical 8 is? Or
Oh, Jessica.
everyone has a favorite. Everyone does.
Okay, we have with us Caroline Robichaux, who is our first ever guest
I know.
on this podcast, and she's coming back around.
Full circle.
Speech language pathologist, owner of a practice that's right down the hall from us called Basics Plus, which we love. And she is going to talk to us about all things learning disabilities, and we're going to pick her brain on that.
Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for being here. Okay, so can you run us through, like, what is the current categorization of learning disabilities, because this has changed with our most recent DSM.
Yes. So learning disabilities basically means your brain learns differently. You can have a learning disability in one of three areas. There's a learning disability in reading, math, and written expression. You could have one, you could have two, you could have three.
Yeah.
Within those also, there's subsets. So like when you have a specific learning disorder in reading, you could have trouble with decoding. Decoding means what the word says.
Okay.
You could have an impairment in comprehension, what the word means.
Okay.
And then a disorder or trouble in fluency and rate. How smooth and accurate are you?
Okay.
Which one is written expression under one of those?
So written expression then is its own tab.
Oh, okay.
So it's SLD, with specific learning disorder or disability is the umbrella. Reading, math, written expression. And then each of those then would break into another 2 to 3 areas.
Okay.
And so I think one thing that's great to clarify, and I'm so glad we can say this, is so dyslexia would fall under specific learning disorder in reading.
Okay.
The spelling component can go in written expression. But just because you might see someone has a learning disorder in reading does not mean they're does not always mean they're dyslexic.
Got it.
What is dyslexia? Define dyslexia.
It is neurobiological in nature, meaning it is a different way the brain processes. I think, at least before I got into this field, I maybe thought it was just B's and D's or numbers bouncing.
Right. Yeah.
Could there be B and D reversals? Absolutely. But what we see the most is difficulty in decoding. Decoding means what the word says.
Okay.
And then encoding, that's spelling. So if I wrote for you P-I-G, that word says pig.
Right.
I could also show you H-I-G. We would say that says hig. Someone who's dyslexic would have trouble with what we'd call that pattern.
Okay.
Or those phonetic principles from how it's stored.
So, how would they read that?
They might say hig. They might say hige. They might just see the H and just pick whatever 3-letter H word they want to pick.
Okay, so their brain has trouble latching onto those patterns and repeating them throughout language.
Correct.
What is it called? There's a lot. It's like long I or short. What is it called?
The vowels have different sounds, short and long.
Short and long. So pig is a short I. And
versus kite would be long.
Right. And so if you have pig and hig, so a dyslexic brain or whatever would have trouble lumping those in the same category, like that I?
They could, correct. And then they don't always pick up on if we gave a word family, like you might have seen with your kids in lower school, and you'll see in a few years, Jessica, like if we said cat, hat, bat, sat, they're all the at family.
Right.
They might not as quickly recognize the pattern. So a typical learner might see it, then they go, boom, I got a pattern. I just changed that first sound. Fantastic. Some of our kids, each word may have to resound out at, mat. And then the next one, at. So laborious, yes.
Yeah.
They feel you on that.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough. So this is why these kids need so much more time, extended time, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
To read, because they're having to do that mental where most of us, it's just automatic, right? We don't even have to think about it. Once we learn the pattern, we can apply it automatically to the rest of language. Every time they're having to think about it, right?
Correct. And remember those strategies, and so much why we love the direct, systematic, multisensory approach for intervention. We can get that repetition. So when we go back to the learning disorders or learning disabilities, so like you were saying, the diagnostic manual took out the word dyslexia. That is no longer
I didn't
in
know
there.
that.
Wonder why.
Sometimes they say it's more educational, but then what's helpful and sometimes tricky. So Louisiana recently came out with a new bulletin in the past 5 years wanting the term dyslexia for students to get accommodations.
Yeah.
So if we just say SLD, specific learning disability, but they need that support for specifically dyslexia, not just the comprehension.
Right.
The schools are wanting that term.
Yeah.
So I put it on reports. It just doesn't have a diagnostic code.
Okay.
It falls, though, under the umbrella, again.
Of reading?
Of reading.
Yeah.
And then if that spelling's really impaired, then we'll call it written expression also.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
And then what I was telling y'all right before we started that I find kind of fascinating is the research is showing also where those math facts are stored is similar areas for that decoding. Okay. Where it says, so we're seeing in a lot of our kiddos who struggle with that decoding, what the word says, they're also struggling with math facts.
How does that, like I get decoding and reading. How does that work in, like, math?
So with the math facts, I need to go learn more. But from what I'm seeing is just how it's stored and that repetition and that automaticity. My inference would be just how we're saying, like, learning that at-word family is learning your times sevens or times eights.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And then you asked another part with that.
Like, because I struggled so hard with math growing up. And so, like, times tables, but, like, what about, like, more complex, whatever they're called?
That was your part. Yes, that's what I was going to say. So if you have trouble with comprehension, that makes sense for word problems. Or if you have trouble decoding a word problem. So if you're seeing this, 3-line
I hate word problems.
problem about Matt and Sam walk to the store.
Yeah, with 8 apples and...
but you don't know how to read 8 or apples.
Right.
What do you do? Or you just figure out, I recognize the word 8 because that was my heart word that I had to practice. And then you kind of make up a sign. Then what we also see sometimes play into math is either attention or executive functioning of there's so many rules. Like, think about long division.
Yeah.
That's
You divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. So you have to not only know your facts and your steps. Oh, and hey, you have to line it up. And so our kids who have some handwriting, handwriting or
like visual processing stuff.
That's all different. So I love graph paper for that.
Oh,
we go through
smart.
And they make that graph paper now, 1/2 inch.
What?
It's wonderful.
What about the parentheses stuff? What is that called? Like fractions
order of operations?
Like order of operations plus
God, I don't
fractions.
remember that at all.
You don't remember that in, like, square
No,
root
I know
shit?
what that is, but I didn't remember that term at all.
So
like, dang.
that's so much to remember. So
Yeah.
if you think about for our kids, they're not only learning the math, there's all these steps.
Yeah.
So I love so much how when we can chunk the information and teach one skill in isolation and then build on it. So again, we're thinking about long division. If you don't know your multiplication and subtraction, long division is going to be so hard.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you get a practice paper that has 12 different operations, not 12, but all these different problems, it's really tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
So a lot of kids that have dyslexia also have some kind of math learning disorder, right?
Not always diagnosed, but we're seeing difficulty in facts.
Okay.
Because sometimes I have some kids who that's where they excel, and it's what then becomes so frustrating and hard is their computation, meaning solving the problem, is outstanding. Like, you could give them 283 times 74, boom. But then you put that in a word problem, and they can't decode it.
Right.
So when we get into that, 4th grade-ish, when we start having more word problems, then that dyslexia is making their strong area, this area where they've always exceeded and been a superstar, start looking tough.
What is the point of a word? Like, what skill are we trying to gain with a world word problem?
Okay, so in school's defense or that, it's actually more real life. So if you and I, like after this, I'm going to the mall this afternoon. I'm going to see what's on sale. If Macy's is having 20% off and Caroline has $100, what can I buy and what amount? So actually,
it's more applicable.
Fine.
I know. I hate to give that to them.
Fine.
Yeah. It's true, though. I mean, it is.
So that actually, to me, is more applicable than calculus and trigonometry.
I actually preferred word problems over everything else in math because I hate math. Like, my brain doesn't work in a math way, but my brain works in a language way. Right. So, like, I could understand the word problems, but the rest of math,
your strong verbal comp.
Like, I wish I would have had you in high school to help me through math. Okay, so what are the reading disorders that are not dyslexia?
So it can be with comprehension. So comprehension is that understanding. So we can have it with just language. So us talking right now, you understanding what I'm saying. When they're really little, like our 2 to 4 year olds, those WH questions. What are we doing? Where are we going? Well, then we think about, we get into school and we read a story and answer those questions. If Sam and Pam went to the store, who was it about? Where did they go? So that's our comprehension there. And then we think about when the text gets more difficult or as the child ages, those inferences. Inferences meaning it might not be directly said. So one example I give for that, if you saw I walked in today with an umbrella, you might infer that it's going to rain.
It's going to rain, right.
But I didn't, or it is raining. Yes, either one, absolutely. But I didn't tell you it was raining.
Right.
Or if right now you heard my stomach grumble across the table, I didn't tell you I was hungry, but you could infer that because you have that background knowledge. So our kids do that in books also, in paragraphs and in books. So you can have a weakness there. And what's kind of interesting, it could be just auditory. Or it could be auditory and when you're reading. So that would be that learning disability in reading. A lot of times there we'll have a language disorder also, meaning that comprehension and vocabulary.
Okay. So these are like processing disorder, like an auditory processing disorder? No, that's a separate thing.
Or like retaining?
It could be all. There's so many factors if you think about what goes into it. And then we think about our writing, so many steps too. With it all, we have to think about, what do I want to say? How do I organize the sentence? How do I form my letters? Where do the capitals go? Oh, wait, this is my spelling rule for that. But not this word. So there's just so many steps. So kids could have trouble with one of the areas or all of them.
So these categories are like basically identifying or like clumping symptoms, but they're not telling you like why. Like there could be a million reasons why this kid has reading comprehension issues or decoding issues or whatever.
And that's why I love a really thorough evaluation beforehand too, because we can really dig in how we're saying with the comprehension, for example, there's a subtest where you do passage comprehension. So the kids have to read a sentence. There's also on a different test, oral comprehension, where the examiner would read it.
Right.
So then you can really start to tease out, is this because they can't read the words? Is it because they're not paying attention? Is it because they don't know what this vocabulary word means?
Right.
And then as you dig deeper into vocabulary and testing too to see, do they have categorical knowledge? So something that we start with our young kids that then goes into older grades would be categories. So for example, farm animals, cows, pigs, horses. We store that almost like a silverware drawer. They're all the forks.
Right.
Then we think about, we're in science in middle school and we're talking about the different states of matter. Solid, liquid, gas, and
plasma.
Thank you. And so then
I
that would be
like
like
9-year-old. So there you go. This is my life right now.
Yeah. So then it's like the spoon drawer. So if we can really build those strong language skills when they're younger, it helps set the process and the framework.
Right.
Not saying we're teaching our 5-year-olds solid, liquid, gas, plasma, but how do we teach our brain this organization and framework?
Right.
Okay. So this is what I was going to say earlier as it relates to like diagnosing. Because what do we know? We know that psychologists are the ones who do like the formal evaluations for psychiatrists in school.
Yes and no. So psychologists can diagnose all these that we're talking about. And then they would also diagnose under that mental health, the ADHD, anxiety, depression.
Yes.
But as a speech-language pathologist and as an educational diagnostician,
you
can also diagnose learning disabilities or language disorders, but not attention.
Yeah, but what really I think should, instead of having like a one-stop shop, right, for like the whole DSM plus, I mean, I think if a kid is struggling academically, it makes more sense and it seems more efficient and more valid to go to an educational diagnostician.
Or speech pathologist.
Or speech pathologist to tease out that stuff because that's what y'all specialize in.
Right.
And focus on every day versus going to like
rule those things out first.
Yeah.
And then I agree.
Yeah.
I mean.
Right. Or in conjunction with.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things seeing what's going on. I mean, just how I refer to Lauren a lot for psychiatry because while you go to your pediatrician, sometimes Lauren does mental health all day long, whereas the pediatrician does head to toes.
Yes, your part of the evaluation, I think, is missing far too often.
Oh, correct.
Like
ADHD,
it aggravates the
shit out of me.
F out of me when I have like a 16-year-old who's been failing math every year forever.
Yep.
And I'm like, have you ever been tested? And they're like, oh yeah, we were tested for ADHD. I'm like, no, were you ever tested for a learning disability? No. And I'm like, how did no one ever catch this?
And I wonder, like, it probably takes long. I mean, I'm assuming there are like additional battery of tests for psychologists to do.
Absolutely, time and money. And so what's interesting? So one of the most common educational batteries is called the Woodcock-Johnson.
Yeah.
There's a more brief version and there's more detailed subtests. So you can do up to 20 subtests. I think at minimum you have 7 to 8. We typically in our office do 14 to 15 depending on which ones. So you could get though, for example, when we were saying comprehension, there's a brief and a more in-depth. You don't have to do the in-depth. I love it because I'm like language therapy is what I started. And
more information,
to me,
the better.
if parents are spending time and money, yes, it might be 10 or 15 more minutes. And yes, the kids don't want to do it. But we're really teasing out what's going on. What's the root of this?
Yeah.
And how do we then best address it? Is it, where's the best next referral for intervention or potentially medical management or mental health? Is there anxiety and depression going on? So we can really have a better idea of the root of it.
Right.
Not just like, a standard score of 90 could mean you could get that 12 different ways.
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean?
For average on scores, you would get a score of 90 to 110 being average. But if you look, I could think of 3 kids I tested in the past few weeks that got around that score for 3 different reasons. Right. So when you're able to dig a little deeper, you're able to see, okay, is this 90 because they couldn't read the words? Is it because they couldn't comprehend? Is it because they have memory concerns? Like
90 is average, though.
90's at the low end. So,
okay.
You could look fine, but then if you really dig deeper, you could have a 110 on. I had one recently. We had close to a 110, so upper end of average on one part, and then a 78 on another.
Oh, that's crazy.
So the average to look
decent
enough.
I see.
So if you don't dig enough.
Then you don't, okay.
Ugh. Because then you don't know how to help them.
Yeah. And then they're just going to keep falling in the cracks or whatever.
Or if someone just looked really quickly and they're like, oh, hey, this passed. Or I was talking to somebody recently, actually this morning, about screeners. And they might look okay on the 2 things you asked, but does that really globally represent the child's needs?
Right.
And abilities.
So 20, when were we in 4th grade? 20 years ago? No, more than that.
way more.
30 years ago?
30.
Wait, in first grade, would you say? Second grade?
Yeah,
first, second, third.
30-something
30
years ago.
Mid-90s.
Over 30 years ago.
96, 97 for me.
So, we didn't we didn't have, this wasn't a thing, right? And I don't even remember, what did we do? Did we just not do good in school, I guess?
Yeah. I think kids were diagnosed with dyslexia if it was really bad.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't remember that though at all. I remember, so I went to a small Catholic school. There were 35 of us together from K through 8. And there's 2 kids that now as an adult, and this is what I do, I have so much compassion for them. And everybody compared their grades. Everyone knew who was doing poorly or well. Yeah. Popcorn reading. What? And you remember when the teachers would just randomly point to you and had to read a sentence?
And you just have to read,
And now looking back, there's one kid in particular. I haven't thought about him in 25, 30 years.
You're welcome.
But thanks, Jessica. But now knowing what I know, there was definitely something going on. But I think you just either made C's and D's or switched schools.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's
failed out.
Yeah.
I don't remember anybody, though.
No.
No one was getting intervention.
Nope. Or you went to a tutor.
Yes,
but
correct.
I
But the tutor was
I had a math tutor forever,
correct.
but it was just a generic college kid who was good at math, and they weren't helping me in any specified way that helped really.
No. Or figuring out
it didn't help.
Root of it and how to then apply it. If you were getting help in something for algebra, how does this then apply to these 12 other things? Not just pass this test and go on your merry way.
And it was really just do homework.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Someone to do homework
it was someone to do homework, and you just ask them questions while they're with you, and that's it.
That's crazy.
And if you wanted to pick up a big fight, they might would just do it for you because then they didn't want you to fight.
That's
your mom's paying them.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all of the, or that's some of the reading disorder. What about? Okay, we're kind of touching on math. So dyscalculia is in math.
What's that?
Okay.
So math, that would go with the math disorder.
Okay.
And so you again could have trouble. Is it the word problems? But then we have to say, is it because of language or decoding?
Right.
then the calculation. So calculation is actually solving that problem. Like if you had 11 plus 7, are those represented in your brain? Do you have like little dots or counters or something in your brain that shows you how those go? And then again, that fluency, like how quick and accurate are you with it? So you could have a difficulty in all three or one of those. We also sometimes look at how you can show relationships in numbers. So like if I showed you, sorry, Jessica, should have done a trigger warning. Going to talk about math.
PTSD.
Like if I showed you 2, 4, 6, what would come next? How are you with those patterns?
8 to 12.
Good job. Good job.
Gold stars.
You did it.
So looking at that, so you can have difficulties in all those areas.
Okay, so is it the same kind of thing where like dyscalculia can be the diagnosis, but there's other reasons why people have math disorders?
Correct.
Okay. So same kind of thing as dyslexia.
Correct.
What's dysgraphia? I forgot.
So that goes with our written expression,
Right.
the last
Okay.
one. And so dysgraphia gets tricky. I feel like OTs, us, and psychologists it can kind of all go under our purview.
Yeah.
But nobody loves to put that exact word on it.
Oh.
Me included. I've
Why?
never used that label. I'll say disorder of written expression.
Oh.
Okay.
So to me, it can have the spelling. If it has the spelling, we definitely include that. Well, I take back. I have used it with spelling, the term. It also, though, has a motor component, so motoric, that fine motor. So that would be under OT, occupational therapist. And then the psychologists have a test called the BERI, or it gives a VMI, that visual motor. I believe speech pathologists can administer it. I'm thinking of one person who does. We don't have it in our office.
But what is it?
Seeing how, like your handwriting, fine motor. So how can you copy shapes and your letters? So if you think about our kiddos with really poor handwriting, again, and I don't want to step into OT's lane, but you're wondering, is it anything motoric, like with your fine motor? Is it your pencil grip? Is it you can't remember what the letter looks like?
Right.
Is it spacing, sizing? Then do we get into our ocular
Yeah.
field?
Right.
So many components there.
Yeah.
But the part that I would look at then from our field as speech language pathologist or reading specialist is that spelling.
Yeah.
And if they have the trouble with spelling, it can go back to that dyslexia.
Okay.
And then we also, for our field, work on written expression, as in the content in your writing, because that's so language-based. So right now I'm talking to you, that's my expressive language. If I was writing, that's just like that. So if you have to write about what you did this summer, I'm sure a ton of kids are doing that this week. How do I organize my thoughts? We're huge on graphic organizers. For anyone listening to this, if your kid has trouble writing, help them organize it. Don't just make them spit out 5 to 8 sentences without thinking about it first, because then it's so disorganized.
Yeah.
But is that because of attention? Is that because they don't know the structure?
Yeah.
Could be both. So that content in writing, we can really focus on too. Are you writing so simplistic? I played. It was hot. But is that because of your vocabulary? Or sometimes we see our kids writing more simplistic words because they can't spell them. And they're so bright. And they have this huge verbal vocabulary, but they don't know how to spell it. So they're going to make it seem more simplistic to get that right, which is why one of the benefits of technology is allowing for that dictation and other things so that we can truly learn that strong vocabulary and get all of those great thoughts so many of our kids have.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, it seems like the current way that they're categorizing all of these is so oversimplified, right? I mean, what do you think? Like, do you like the way it is, or it just seems like misleading in a way? It
can be. To me, I love if I have information on why something's tricky.
Yeah.
So I honestly could care less if you have the label, don't have the label.
Yeah. Right.
Have 12 labels, have one label. Like if we know what things are tricky, then we can support it.
Right.
I think the reasons things have become more categorized, insurance for sure.
Yeah.
So in our practice, we don't accept insurance.
Yeah.
We're all private pay. So that I'm not dictated then by insurance. I'm like, we can see what a kid's needs are and address them. Versus somebody who's never worked with children who maybe hasn't recently interacted with a kiddo doing that. I get benefit of it also in schools is to help schools have a framework of, okay, here's some kids who needs more support.
Yeah.
Like you have to have
something.
I don't know what the perfect idea is, but I do get you have to have something to know, okay, these kids need some support and accommodation. These kids are doing okay. These kids are doing great. And so I don't even know in my perfect world how I would
how would you categorize it.
But I get that in schools, at least we go into a bunch of the ISAS and Catholic schools, you need some sort of evaluation and diagnosis so that it's just not 20 out of the 30 kids getting pulled all day for
you have to triage.
Extra.
They got to triage them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there has to be some justification because when we do see kids at school, they're missing part of their school day.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I completely understand from a school's perspective there has to be some justification or reason.
Right. Okay.
I have a quick, well, it's not quick, intellectual disability mild.
Okay.
What does that look like?
I personally don't diagnose that.
Oh,
that would be psychologists.
Oh, that
for
would be
because it would come from the IQ test.
Yeah.
So either the WIPC or the WISC.
Yeah.
I believe, I'm not going to say a number because, but then if you have an intellectual disability, we do not then on top of that diagnose this broad SLD, specific learning disability.
Oh, really? Oh.
Because it's congruent with your intellect.
Okay. So
we may still diagnose a learning disability. And fun kicker that makes it tricky sometimes on paperwork, you could have an intellectual disability and also be dyslexic because of that neurobiological, how the brain's processing these letters. But we also see some of our students that have an intellectual disability. Learning is just more difficult because of your intellect.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's
So
interesting.
they're not necessarily separate there. At least that's the best of my understanding for it.
All right.
Okay. So we know that dyslexia has a neurobiological basis. Do we know that for any of the other ones? Any of the other learning disabilities? I stumped you here.
You did. I don't want to give a wrong answer. I'll find out and I'll let y'all know. So you can report back to the listeners.
Because that part, obviously, I'm obsessed with the brain, and I think it's like the coolest thing ever because it's so mysterious. But that part of dyslexia is like so fascinating to me. Like, how did this brain formulate in a way to create this issue? And we were talking before we started that like sometimes it's genetic, but not always, which is different than what I knew. Like, I thought it was like always genetic.
No, and maybe it's just parents weren't diagnosed.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, you can have it without familial history.
Right.
But then what you were saying too, it's interesting, like walking and talking, we're born knowing how to walk and talk.
Yeah.
Cavemen walked and talked.
Right.
Reading and writing is a man-made process.
Yeah.
So if we think about, yes, there were their own scripts and hieroglyphics and everything in the past, but how we read and write today and how that is our primary or one of our primary ways of consuming information is more man-made.
Yeah.
Who thought of the alphabet?
Oh, I do know this.
Well, like the Greek alphabet?
I don't know. Like, why do we read? Like, who started reading?
I guess people wanted to transfer
like
information.
Anthropology question.
I know, I kind of like it.
Actually, I've been listening to podcasts about this.
You have? Then tell it.
I've been listening to podcasts about like it's not about, the podcast is not about this, but it's like talking to an expert in anthropology or historian where they're like going back into origins of language, and it's so freaking cool. And I actually took a class, or when I studied abroad, I took a linguistics class where we learned about like origins of language. It's fascinating. There's a lot of theories that it goes back way farther than we think it does. Because we only know what we can see, right? Like where there's like tablets with hieroglyphs on it or whatever. Like that's like our visual evidence that, oh, these people had language at whatever period in time we think it was. But there's theories that it goes back way farther than that, and we just don't have the evidence of it anymore.
Fascinating.
What does that mean, farther than that?
A long time.
In a fish?
Like thousands of years.
But that's also why our spelling and reading can be so tricky for kids because there's so many languages.
Yeah.
We take so many of our words from Greek and Latin, and so there's different spelling patterns and different root words. So honestly, I love when our kids study Latin because it helps so much with
You
vocabulary.
have to take it. I failed
Well,
it.
and English is such a hard language to learn. It's
is.
really hard to learn.
There's a lot
Why?
because we come from so many languages.
So it doesn't follow consistent rule. Like if you learn Spanish, Spanish is like one of the easiest languages to learn because like it follows the rules pretty closely. Like there's like established patterns and it's like pretty consistent and it's phonetic. Like with the way the word looks on the page is pretty much the way you sound it out. Whereas like our language is not like that at all.
Yeah.
Like how we were kite would be a vowel consonant.
Yeah.
But then you have the word give and love.
Oh, yeah, that's dumb.
But we still I still love syllable instruction. So while we have a lot of rule breakers, there's also a lot that follow it.
Yeah.
So I'm still a big proponent of very structured instruction.
Yeah.
Who decided that there should be a difference between give and kite?
There's so many funny things on Instagram. An old student one time sent me one, and it's like the words through and thought and though.
Wait, through, hold on. But not like through, not through.
Through the tunnel.
THROUGH.
Yeah. Through, what else did you say?
Thought.
Through, thought.
Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, how the F did we come up with that?
Yeah, like who decided that?
So,
though?
I mean, when I'm working with kids, I just tell them that. I say, listen, English can be tricky and
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
We got to store these. We got to know them. We got to remember them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can sometimes we draw annoying faces on the paper,
Yeah.
and then we got to just
So dumb.
Yeah.
do it.
English
Okay,
is dumb.
I have a personal question, I guess. So if you have a kid who struggles with reading, let's say, for whatever, I mean, there could be a million reasons why they struggle with reading. And I find for a lot of kids, it pretty quickly goes to, I hate reading, right? And like as a parent, you're wanting to read with your kid because that's how they learn to read, right?
Right.
But you're hitting this barrier because they don't want to do it, right? How, like, what's your advice on how to like foster a love of reading or
Motivate.
move away from a hate of reading
Right. I think there's
when they're struggling?
a few different things. One, if we do get to the point where they're struggling, seek that outside support.
Yeah.
Make the parents not have to be the bad guy every
Yeah.
night. Like
Yeah.
let other people support them.
Yeah.
And we can see through structured approaches, we really can build these skills.
Yeah.
One thing that we talked about last time that was so fun was phonological awareness.
Yeah.
And we know that so much can help. So that's
Define that again.
So phonological awareness is how we manipulate our sounds. So if I say cupcake without cake,
Cup.
there you
That
go.
took a little too long, I think.
So we practice that. And so things like that. And they've actually seen in the research that doing that phonological awareness can strengthen the neural pathways, all those highways in the brain for reading. So that's one part for the intervention. But at home, definitely reading from a young age, having exposure to books, also working on things, if your kid's fighting it, things like adults reading it, support it, bridge that, picking books that are of their interest.
Right.
What we also see for some of our kids who the decoding, that reading part's hard, but they have great comprehension, they'll have one part of books that they do that's at their reading level. But then we also do the more complex reading that an adult reader supports with so that we can keep growing that vocabulary.
Yeah.
Because we know that vocabulary grows so much from our reading. And our kids who resist reading, that can really stunt their vocabulary growth.
Yeah.
What about like, I used to suggest this when I worked at a school. Like if you have a class that student A is intimidated by or subject, whatever, you start them with some, like maybe even a grade level behind, like do now, like thing that you start with so you can like build confidence.
Absolutely.
And then attack the grade level academic tasks. You could you also do that with like someone who hates reading, like give them.
Right, if they'll scaffold and try that, absolutely. We also
Like
sometimes
something
will
they can
do, and sometimes the kids are all for it. Sometimes they feel like it's more work, but the adult will read a page, and then the child reads the same page. So what that does, it gives you a preview to the comprehension. You know what's coming. You also get that model for fluency and rate. So when the three of us would be reading, we might not even realize it, but we kind of scoop our words together. It's like, Tom ran to the park, instead of each just Tom ran to the park.
Right.
They get that model.
So what should we be doing?
Tom ran to the park. Like kind of scooped. Kind of how we talk also.
Like she's saying if the adult reads the page first and reads it like an adult would read it, and then the kid kind of follows them and reads in the same way, it teaches them to read.
Would you read it like that? Tom ran to the park?
I think not even, maybe not as pronounced, but you do it not even thinking. And then
Tom ran to the park. That's what I like, and that's like a one word practically.
But you probably would like if you, okay, so we actually do this with my child in question. And I didn't think my husband like started doing it because my husband's always had trouble with reading, interestingly. And so I didn't even think to do it, but I watched him do it and I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. So we do it at home now. And like we do read a little bit more slowly than I would read it to myself because I know that he's like following the words and trying to like
and
decode,
then also when he's following along, you're giving another exposure to the word. So our kiddos with dyslexia or reading troubles, we know need almost 50 to 80 exposures for a word for it to really stick. So if you're reading and they're seeing it, that's an exposure.
Yeah.
And then they're reading it again, there's another exposure. Yeah. So it's just really.
What, like, could they sing it?
Sure. I don't
like
care.
something like silly too. I feel like.
I don't care. Be silly. Have fun.
Yeah. Okay, that's really good advice.
Yeah.
And then games sometimes, like with heart words or sight words, I love like a matching memory.
Yeah.
We cut an index card in half. I write the word, you write the word. So we're practicing that. T-H-E, the. Then we flip them over, have maybe 5 words, and then you do memory.
Yeah.
That we used to play, like, with Mickey Mouse heads or something on it.
Yeah.
To find the matches. So then you're reading it every time you flip it. There's another exposure.
Oh, yeah.
It's maybe seeming not quite as schoolworky.
Yeah.
We're trying
and you could do that with the alphabet. Like you could start with the alphabet.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
and then
like A and A.
Yes, and you could even do uppercase A, lowercase A.
Mm-hmm.
I got to write that down. Remember how to do that.
To do that. And then it's also helping with that memory and attention. Where did I put the word down or the letter down?
Ooh, I like that.
Turn taking.
Yeah.
Because I went, then mom or my sibling
it's
went.
Like social. Right. Yeah, I love that.
Many parts of it. And, the cost, cost of index cards or computer paper,
whatever.
$1, $2.
I have a laminator too.
Right. Okay, great.
Yeah, this is great. I know.
Thanks for coming.
I know.
As always.
I could keep talking for hours.
I know. I mean, it's so fascinating talking about this stuff because it's like a little bit outside of my field of work, so I don't totally understand it. And it's just so interesting.
Yeah.
But we wish every kid had someone like you, Caroline.
Yeah. And every single school.
You're the best.
Thank you. And I will look up about if all learning disabilities are neurobiological.
Okay, get back to me on that.
Task.
Yeah. Just a light Friday. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming. We appreciate
y'all.
it.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Little Brain Campaign podcast.
If you enjoyed our conversation, give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode.
And hey, those ratings and reviews, they actually matter, like a lot. Take 30 seconds to leave us a review while you're still thinking about it.
Until next time, remember, we're all just trying our best.
See you next week.